where are we going to go that's going to help us out the best to get to the next step. Our first steps are going to be very different than our last steps. So knowing that is a good thing. That's what we need to focus on and keep in mind. You know, lots of myths about real estate investing. A lot of people believe that the only way that we can be real estate investors is to flip houses. You know, get our hands dirty, go buy materials, deal with contractors. Or we've got to own rental properties, deal with tenants, repair toilets, all that kind of stuff.
So we're gonna go on the wrong page. You'll have to start over, unfortunately.
Are we not even on?
We're on now, but now it's showing me exactly where you are on the correct page. I had gone to the wrong page initially, but we're good now.
Okay, well, I'm just going to keep going from where I'm at then.
Okay, no worries.
Okay. Sorry for any technical difficulties out there, guys. You know, like I said, it happens before. It happens from time. So, but you know, now, but the myth that this is the only thing that we can do as real estate investors is typically because this is what we see on TV. Now, these are definitely methods of getting involved in real estate. And we have certainly done these methods. We have flipped many, many homes. We have lots of rental properties. So this can be a very good method of how we want to go down that path to get it started. Like I said, you know, when we got started in this business, we were wholesaling properties. That's all we did was wholesale. We didn't do anything else. We focused on that, and we wanted to get really good at that. By wholesaling in the beginning, it really taught us a lot about this business. It taught me a lot about negotiating and talking face-to-face, one-on-one with sellers. It taught me a lot about walking properties and estimating my repairs. It taught me a lot about how to fix title problems. So as we moved along and then got into flipping properties, I felt that I was a step ahead of a lot of people because I took it slow. I didn't just jump in and try to do everything. I focused on one thing. And as we look at these strategies here, yes, it's the myth that it's the only thing that we can do as real estate investors, but it is very good steps to take along the way. Like I said, we started by wholesaling properties. Once we got very good at it and had the opportunity to finally keep one and flip it, then we started to flip houses. We still kept wholesaling, but we started to put the rehabbing and flipping part into the equation for what we were doing. So we took that step. And over time, we started rehabbing more properties and wholesaling less properties, because we had the ability to start keeping them. Once we started getting very good at rehabbing properties, another year and a half, 2 years went by where we got very good at rehabbing properties. Then we started keeping properties as rental properties. We started building that momentum as we were going. But I will tell you, in all the years that I've had rental properties, in the beginning, yes, I did deal with the tenants and I did repair toilets, but I never got calls at midnight. So I know that that's one of the things that everybody talks about. You get all these calls at midnight. Yeah, sorry, that never happened to me. Fortunately, that never happened to me. So that generally is always a big myth. But you know, the myth of thinking that this is all we can do is not true. And as we go through all this today, we're going to talk about a lot of other different types of investing and different things that we can do as well. So keep that in mind. You know, we always have to figure out what works for us as individuals. Like I said, we're all different people, and we all have different talents and different likes and different wants of what we want to accomplish as a real estate investor. And that's the fantastic thing about real estate is we don't just have to do one thing. There are lots of opportunities out there for us, and we just need to go out and find the opportunities that work the best for us. So that's what we're going to be doing. So let's talk a little bit about mindset, because this is really an important role in the process, I think, this was certainly an important role in the process for me, because for many years, in the early years when we just had some rental properties and really didn't know a lot about real estate investing, I had the entirely wrong mindset of what I was doing, what was going on in the world, what was going on as a real estate investor. I did not think as an entrepreneur in any way, shape, or form. I was an employee, and that was how I thought. But mindset is, keeping proper perspective at all times, having that ability to keep your proper perspective at all times, proper perspective of everything that's going on around you, proper perspective of, what's going on politically, what's going on in the media, what's going on in your own personal world, which is actually the most important thing. How much that's going on out in the world really affects you, and how does it affect you? Keeping that proper perspective is very important. And as we become real estate investors, that might change a little bit, because as a business owner, as an entrepreneur, my perspective is very different than my perspective of being an employee. Because being an employee, you're mostly just focused on keeping your job. As a business owner, there's other things we have to focus on and keep our attention to. That's very, very important. Being in control of our own destiny, because we're all in control of our own destiny. And in many, many cases, a lot of people don't believe this, but we are. When we're an employee, we tend to think that we're not in control of our destiny. Our employers, our bosses are in control of our destiny. And in a lot of those cases, that may be true. But in the cases where we want to be real estate investors and entrepreneurs, we have to take control of our own destiny. And once you do take control of your own destiny, it empowers you tremendously. I can't tell you how this alone has changed our lives and how we think about things and decisions we make and the things that we do. In this day and age, everybody loves to be a victim. And we've got to understand that we're not victims of circumstance out there. That's just not, and I mean, it's an excuse, and we can't use that excuse. We cannot use this excuse for anything that we do in life. We have to take control. And when we start hearing people being victims all the time, we need to tune that out. We need to get that out of our lives. We need to dismiss it 100%. That's my opinion, and I strongly believe in it, as I hope you can tell. You have what you have because of how you think and decisions that we've made. And we all make good decisions. We've all made good decisions. We've all made bad decisions. We got to let it go. We need to take control. And if we don't like decisions we're making, if we don't like the way things are going, then it's up to us to change those things. And we certainly can. We've got all the power in the world to change the decisions, the directions that we're going. And I think it's important that we touch on mindset, because this is, like I said, this is one thing that people, when I get kickback from different topics, this is typically one that I get the most kickback from people, because people don't want to, they want to put somebody else out there. They want to blame somebody else. They want to use excuses all the time. And that's the society we live in. But I think it's important to mention this and talk about this for a second, because this is a very big part of how we're going to get to that end goal of where we want to go. That what's our exit, and by having the proper mindset certainly helps us set that up based on who we are as individuals, based on the kind of real estate investing we want to do. And I know that for more of our technically minded people, they typically don't feel this way. It's tougher to talk to someone and convince them of how important I think mindset is if they're a more technically minded person. For whatever reason, I don't know what the reason is, doesn't matter, but I just throw that out there. So keep control of your mindset, take control of your own destiny. And if you're in that victim mindset, get rid of that. You don't need that. You're better than that. So what kind of investor do you want to be? It's important to understand what kind of investors we want to be. So do we want to be active investors, Or do we want to be passive investors? And this can come in many shapes and sizes for all of us. You know, we have been active investors for many, many, many years. But as time goes on, we are rolling more towards that passive side. And we really see and have learned the value of the passive side. But it's taken us being very active investors to finally be going that direction. Now, that doesn't mean that I still don't like flipping a house, because I do. That's one of those things that kind of is in my blood. And we still do flip houses. We still buy rental properties. We still sell properties, owner finance. We still do all those active activities. But now going forward, where we're at in our careers, we're doing a lot more of the passive type investing with our lending, with our fund, all that type stuff. But depending on where you are and who you are, this could be dictated by a lot of other things going on in your life. So, you know, do you have a job? Are you raising a family? That can make a huge difference in being an active investor and a passive investor. What skills do you have? What skill sets do you have to be an active investor? Do you have any skill sets to put you in that active investing category? Do you have a skill set for passive investing? We all have different talents. We all do different things. And this is one of the things that I think we get kind of hung up on sometimes. And by watching things like HGTV, we tend to want to always think we have to be that active investor. And if you've got the talents, if you've got the time, if you've got the passion for that, hey, that's great. There is absolutely nothing wrong with it. I've been doing it for years myself, but I certainly love the passive side as well. I want my money working all the time. When we get into the passive side, we can set ourselves up where our money is working 24/7, 365. And that's exactly what we do with our money on the passive side. Doesn't mean we still don't want to go be active investors. And we also have to keep in mind, depending on where we're at, that sometimes as we're getting that passive investing side going, the passive investing side is for building wealth. It's not necessarily for paying your day-to-day bills. So you may have to be that active investor on that side of it to pay the day-to-day bills if this is something you're doing full-time. Now, if you're doing this part-time and you have a job, you might be able to look at it a little different. You might be able to put a different strategy together for yourself. But if you work full-time, have a job, and you're raising a family both, it's very difficult to maybe find the time to be that active investor. And I see this happen all the time. And you know, somebody really wants to want to go out and flip a house. And every time I talk to them, oh, I have to work overtime at the job. Oh, I've got to do something with my family. And none of those things are bad or wrong, but they get in the way and they interfere. And because of that, maybe that passive side might work better for you. Just want to throw that out there as well. And depending on where you go, you have to be willing to commit to what you're going to do. So thinking about what kind of a commitment are you willing to put in for whatever type of investing you want to do? Because there's going to be a commitment, whether you're going to be an active investor or passive investor. You're going to have to put in some sort of a commitment to do that so you can continue to go forward with it. If we don't commit to it, then it'll go by the wayside. We'll forget about it. We won't give it a lot of thought. So think about these things in your own personal situation and start putting yourself in that category of where do you need to be. By knowing this, it's going to help you build your strategy of how to get to whatever activity you want to be on your at the end, where you know at the end, hey, I just want my money working. I don't want to be having to do anything. That's my goal. And that's my plan. That's my exit strategy, is just to be totally 100% passive. Not quite there yet, but really working hard on it. But sometimes we got to do these other things for all the reasons that we just talked about. So just keep that in mind as you're thinking about this. So setting some goals. Most of the time, we don't even know how to set goals. And this is something that I think is an important part of looking at our exit strategy is by setting those goals in the beginning. This is something that I teach a lot. I've got several different exercises that I go through with students and with members on setting those goals and putting a plan together to help you accomplish what you want to by being able to get to that desired exit strategy that you're looking for in life. And really, it all starts with clearing your mind of the things that are going to keep you from accomplishing your goals. And these are things that you can do right now, depending on where you're at in life, and depending on where you're at with your real estate. We can go through this exercise all the time. And this is an exercise that I think we need to keep in front of us all the time, because life is going to get in the way. Things are going to happen to disrupt this all the time. So if we've got this in front of us all the time, we can go back and revisit it time after time. And it's very important, I think, that we do this. This is something that we do in our business. We go back and revisit these very questions as we set our goals every single year for what we're trying to accomplish. And the first thing we always have to do is clear our minds of anything that's keeping us from accomplishing our goals. And trust me, throughout the year, there are things that are going to come up that are going to mentally put you in that place and tell you, nope, I can't accomplish that. It's just reality. It's life. It happens. So we got to get that out of our head. Then the second thing we always have to do is give ourselves permission to accomplish our goals. This is something that, I say most things don't amaze me or surprise me, but I am amazed how many times I talk to people and people come to me and they don't think they deserve their goals. They don't think they're worthy of their goals, and they don't want to give themselves permission to accomplish their goals. They don't want to give themselves permission to be happy. And this is something that is key in doing this. This is something that's very, very important part of the whole process. This isn't just one, snap your fingers and we're there. This is a process of things that we have to do throughout our lives, throughout our careers, to help us accomplish what we want to and get us to that end goal. So we do this year after year after year. And then we always put our goals down on paper. And like I said, I've got a whole exercise I do with members, with students, with a variety of people that goes into detail on all this stuff. And we also do this. We do this every single year. Now, the way we do our goals is different than the way I teach it, because we've grown as a company, we've grown as individuals, and so we do it differently now. But every year, when we write down our goals for the year, it always goes on paper. We look at it every day. I have my goals written down, and they're on my bulletin board at my office at home, which is right in front of me. And then my other bulletin board at the office, I've got right next to me, and I look at this every day. I look at my goals, and I keep constantly reminding myself where we're going, what we're trying to do, what we're trying to accomplish. It will help you tremendously by doing these little things. These little things make all the difference in the world. So I really encourage you to just take that step and do that. And when you set your goals, sit down and give it some thought. Don't just throw stuff down on paper. Give it some thought. Plan it out. Map it out. And like I said, if you ever want to go through my class on how to do that, we can do that as well. Very, very powerful tool to help you really accomplish what you're trying to do and accomplish your goals along the way to get to that end goal. So focus. You want to figure out what area of real estate you want to start investing in. So like I had mentioned earlier, where we start our careers is not where we're going to end our careers. And we should never think that way. But if you look out there in the crazy world that we're in, and just here in our local markets, there are people that are doing the same strategy today that they were doing 10 or 15 years ago. And they will always be in that same spot as long as they keep doing the same thing. It's not going to change for them. And in most of those cases, they're doing very active real estate transactions. So the second they stop doing those transactions, the second that income stops. And a perfect example of that is wholesaling. That's probably the biggest example of that. Because when you stop wholesaling, you stop making money. Your money is never working for you. When you're wholesaling, you own nothing. You're putting properties under contract and assigning that contract to an investor like myself, who is buying it and keeping it as a rental property, or turning it into an owner finance property, or doing something different with it. But as a wholesaler, the second you stop, your income stops. The same really holds true for flipping houses. Once you stop flipping houses, you stop making money. Now, is this a great place to start and move that career forward? By all means. By all means, these are critical places to start. And I highly encourage you to start in these different areas if it works for you. This doesn't work for everybody, but if it's a strategy that works for you, then you should definitely put all your efforts into it. Once you know what you want to do, then like I'd mentioned a little slide or two ago, you've got to commit to it. You've got to really, really focus and commit to it. And this is probably the hardest thing of all, especially if you're not good at making commitments to yourself. This isn't a commitment to me or anybody else. This is a commitment to you on what you are going to do. And when we first started in this business, and I had to really give this some thought, really make some tough decisions, I committed. And actually, some of the first things I committed to, Susan wasn't really fond of, but I committed and I stuck to it. You know, when we first started, I had a coach, and that was one of the first questions he asked me once we had put our plan together and we were moving forward. The very next question he asked me was, what am I going to commit to from a marketing standpoint? We'll just talk about that from a marketing standpoint. And of course, marketing is very different nowadays than it was back then. But I committed immediately to send out 500 postcards a week and put out 100 bandit signs a week. And every single week we did that. Now, I put most of the bandit signs out because Susan wasn't too big on that, but Susan made sure that our postcards went out every single week, 52 weeks of the year. Didn't matter if it was a holiday, didn't matter if schools were closed, nothing mattered. Every single week, 500 postcards went out. That was our commitment. And because we made that commitment, and in the market we were in, our phone rang all week long, week after week after week. I went on appointments every single week. I put properties under contract every single week. We got huge results because we committed to it and we didn't back down. So when I'm talking about commitment, I'm talking about real commitment. What are you willing to commit to? It's really important. We don't want to fall into the cycle of chasing shiny objects, which everybody does. We certainly did in the very beginning. You know, we'd try something and a month or two would go by and go, well, that's not working too well. Let's go try that. Try that for a month, sometimes even a few weeks. Oh, that's not working too well. Let's go try that. We see people do that all the time. I've got students, got members that do that. It drives me crazy. It's like, I'm telling you to stop doing that, and we'll have a strategy down. They'll start going that direction. 2 or 3 weeks later, I'm getting a phone call from them saying, what do you think about this? That we will never have forward momentum or motion by doing that. If we're chasing shiny objects, we will get nowhere except really frustrated. So you can't do that. You've got to put your blinders on. I am very good at putting my blinders on. When I say put my blinders on, that means I don't pay attention to anything else going on out there. And it really doesn't matter what else is going on. It doesn't matter what the other guy's doing. Who cares what the other guy's doing? The only person you should be worried about is yourself. What are you doing? Because what the other guy's doing doesn't affect you in any way, shape, or form. But most people are worried about the other guy. Their focus is on the other person, not themselves. So we have to focus on ourselves, put our blinders on, and hey, I wish everybody all the luck in the world for what they're doing. Does it affect me? Not in any way, shape, or form. So why should I focus on that? Don't focus on things that are out of your control. And then once we start doing this, we don't stop doing it until we have mastered it. Like I said, when we started wholesaling in his business, we did that until we got very, very, very good at wholesaling. I mean, we were really good at wholesaling, and we got very good deals. We had very good buyers. We moved a lot of properties. And by doing that, it opened up that door for us to start rehabbing properties and keeping them. And we still wholesaled, and we kept rehabbing and rehabbing and rehabbing. And once we got very good at rehabbing, then it was time to, okay, now it's time to start buying rental properties. And we added that to the mix. Now we have had rental properties for many, many, many years, and we've got very good at having rental properties. So we were very good at wholesaling, very good at rehabbing. Now we're good at having rental properties. So our next strategy was, now let's start taking some of those rental properties and turning them into owner finance properties. Now we're really good at owner finance properties, which led to lending money, which led to our fund. We still do the other things. We just keep adding to it once we get very good at what we're doing. And it's really been a great, great pattern for us. And we've really been able to have great momentum because we're not putting the cart before the horse. So keep that in mind as you're putting your strategy together for whatever that end goal is that you're trying to get to. We have our end goal. We're getting closer and closer to it every year. We're getting very close to it. So keep doing things like that in this manner, and I think you will get 10 times more momentum than if you're chasing shiny objects. You're not going to get any momentum. But you're going to get very frustrated. And that's what we want to avoid. We don't want you to get frustrated. That doesn't do anybody any good. So believing in your plan. This is something that is super, super, super important. You've got to believe in your plan, because without it, you'll never work hard enough to win. If you don't believe 100% in your plan, you're never going to work hard enough to win. It's just the truth. Believing in your plan, because without it, you'll never do what needs to be done to win. And when I say that, we have to do things sometimes that we don't want to do. That's part of the process. Sometimes we've got to go do things, and it's like, man, I don't want to do that. That's the last thing in the world I want to do. But it's a major step in getting to that end goal. And we believe in our plan enough to where we know that sometimes we have to step out of our comfort zone. Sometimes we have to do things we don't want to do. But we do them. And because we do them, we win. We get out ahead of everybody else. Focus, because we're focused on ourselves as well. We've also got to believe in our plans, because if we don't, we'll never step away from the pack. And we'll never become different. And I don't know about you guys, but I like being different. I don't want to be in the pack. I don't want to blend in with the pack. I want to be as different as I can be. I want to stand out in front of people. And I want people to know that I don't sit and wait for others. But you've got to believe in what you're doing to do that. As you put your plan together, as you know what your exit strategy is, what your end goal is, you've got to believe in it 100%. You've got to really want it. Because if you don't, we're never going to do these things, take these little steps to accomplish that. And I really, really hold this to heart. I really hold this to heart because we follow these things. We follow these little steps right here. And we believe 100% what we're doing. And I think as you get going in your business, if you're not already going in it, if you are, you're going in your business, and as you see results in your business, those are all things to motivate you, to make you to work that much harder to win, to make you do the things that you need to do to win, to make you step away from the pack. And it takes little successes to get us to the big success. So always remember, we're always looking for all those little successes. All the little things is what add up to the big thing. So it's very important that we take lots of steps and never stop and believe in our plan 100%. Never stop educating yourself. This is something that I see people doing all the time. Stop educating themselves. And that's one thing that we are very big on. I don't, by any means of the imagination, know everything about real estate investing. And as we do new things, I certainly don't know about, we have to go out and educate ourselves. Get involved with groups that are teaching the skills that you lack. And this is something I think is really important that we need to think about when we start talking about, going to networking events, get involved in groups, because there's lots of different types of groups out there. We've got to find groups that are aligned with our values, that are aligned with what we're doing, whether you're going and using a coach or you're just going through a group. If they're not aligned with what you're doing, or they're aligned with the way you think or your values, maybe it's not a good fit. You don't want to get involved with groups because that's just what other people are doing either. I see that a lot. Every year, there's always one or two big new hot things that come out that everybody does. And when everybody's doing it, I don't want to be the last person doing it in 99% of those cases. The example I could use would be, syndication has been very hot, been a very, very big thing for the past couple of years, and everybody's getting into syndications. When everybody's doing it, I'm not doing it. I'm going to go do what everybody's not doing. And I do that because I keep myself educated. I stay on top of things. And it's it's kind of funny because, we'll go to an event for education. We'll go to a meeting, we'll go to a class, and we'll walk in and people will come up to us. We've had this happen numerous times over the years. People will come up to us and ask us, well, why are you here? What are you doing here? Well, I'm here to learn just like you are. I'm no better than anybody else. And sometimes I need education too. So it's always important that we're always going out and getting educated for the skills that we lack. That's so, so important. And one of the big things to that, and I think the reason we're very good at doing that, is because we're not afraid to ask for help when we need it. So many people are afraid to ask for help. And I can tell you, when I was young, I was proud and I had all that pride, and I didn't want to ask anybody for help. But that's the most foolish thing we could do. I realize that now. I didn't realize that when I was younger, but I certainly realize the value of that now. If we don't know, ask. How are we going to learn if we don't ask? Always got to ask the questions. And there's never a dumb question. Dumb questions don't exist in my world. Because if you don't ask that question, you'll never know what the answer is. You'll never be able to grow. You'll never be able to do whatever you're trying to do the correct way. And if it's a skill that you lack that you're trying to learn, if you're not asking questions, how are you going to learn anything? This is something I think is really, really, really important. And we need to take our egos and set them aside and not be afraid to ask questions. Because by asking questions, this is how we are going to grow and get better. And if we need to find coaches to work with, find coaches to work with. But make sure you're aligning with the right coach for what you're doing, for your personality, for their personality. Not every coach was built for every student. I can promise you that. And I'm sure that most of you out there know that from experience like myself. So line yourself up with who you need to, get involved with who you need to, and always ask questions. Constantly ask questions, never stop asking questions. Questions are the greatest thing in the world. Like-minded people. This is something that's really important as well. Staying connected with like-minded people who are going the same direction you are. We have lots of different groups out there. Some good, some bad, some indifferent. And we always, hey, we want you to come and be a part of our group. We want you to be a part of the Wealth Club by all means of the imagination. But that doesn't mean that we're the only group out there. Doesn't mean we're the only people that teach anything. There are other very good teachers, very good groups out there, because we go to other groups. We go learn from other people. And when we first got in this business, this was one of the things that amazed us the most when we started going out to networking events and learning how to network, was when we found the right groups and we had questions in the right groups, people are going to be willing to give you the answer. They're going to want to help you and see you have success. Really, really an important thing to do. You want to go and find groups that are willing to help you without giving you the big pitch at the end of the conversation. Like, come join my group, it only costs you $50,000. That's what you want to avoid most of the time, because when we're getting involved with those groups, we're thinking with our emotions, not with our heads. And you've got to be very cautious of that and very careful of that, because those groups are out there all over the place, just like everybody else. And I'm not saying all of them are terrible groups. I'm just saying if you're going to spend that kind of money, there's probably much better ways to spend your money. Spending time with people who have already achieved what you're trying to achieve. This is really, really key. This has been a real key stepping stone for us over the years at different levels. We have done this, and we do this to this day, and we've been able to make some unbelievable friends in our real estate community, and unbelievable friends that are entrepreneurs, maybe even in different things besides real estate. But you're not going to just typically go out and become friends with people that have already achieved what you're trying to achieve. You have to put yourself in a position for them to recognize you. And that was something that I learned very early in our careers. I was taught by one of my mentors, who's still my mentor to this day, that if I want to be recognized by people, and I want people to welcome me into their groups, I've got to show them who I am. And so in the very beginning, that's what I would do. As much as I was sucked at it, as terrible as I was, and we used to pitch our deals at the events we went to, and I would get up in front of the crowd at every single event I went to. We went to 4 events every month. And I'd get up in front of everybody with my deals, and my hands would be shaking, sweat would be pouring down my forehead, my voice would be cracking, my hands were shaking. I thought my heart was going to pound out of my chest. I was so scared and nervous. But I kept making myself do it over and over and over again. It did several things for me. It put me in front of people, and they saw that I was really out there actively doing deals. I was bringing different deals to the table every meeting. I was assigning, because I was wholesaling back then, but I was assigning those deals because they were good deals. It started bringing real active investors to me just because I was putting myself out there. It also helped me with the fear of ever talking in front of anybody and doing videos and education like I'm doing right now. So it helped me in many ways, but it was not easy in the beginning and it was terrifying. And it also brought people to me that brought me into their groups that had already achieved what we were trying to achieve. By making friends with them, they opened the doors to teaching us whatever we needed, whatever we wanted. This was a key thing to us. So keep that in mind as you're looking for groups to become involved with and finding like-minded people to work with and working with people who have already achieved what you're trying to achieve. It comes down to what you're going to do to get there. What are you going to commit to? The average income of your 5 closest friends is most likely going to be your income. Now, this didn't mean a whole lot to me for a long time, but as I've gotten farther along in our careers and I've gotten older, this means a whole lot more to me now. And this is not to say that your 5 closest friends, whatever their salary is, are bad people. It doesn't mean any of that at all. But what it does mean to me now is as we've grown in our careers and we've been able to get involved with groups of people that are ahead of us and who make very large incomes, the more we hang in those groups, the more we grow and the more our income grows to match their income. And like I said, I didn't give this a lot of thought. It really didn't make a lot of sense to me for a long time, but the more that we've done it, the more we've been involved in these types of groups and had these types of friends, the more I see the value of this and I see the reality of this. So think about that as you start growing and as you start getting around more like-minded people and people that you want to become friends with and people that have achieved so many things. This is really something to really give some thought to, and it's really been an eye-opener for me. So the anatomy of success. This is something that you should write every one of these things down and put them on a bulletin board where you can look at them every single day. Put them on your mirror in your bathroom, doesn't matter. So to have success, we've got to dream it. That's where it starts, with a dream. Everything starts with a dream. Then we've got to visualize it. And when I say visualize it, we've got to close our eyes and see it. We've got to smell it. We've got to taste it. We've got to touch it. We've got to know how it makes us feel inside. Once we've got that and we have motivation to go out and have great success, we've got to plan it. Without a plan, we'll never get there. Without a plan, you'll never get there. You got to plan it. You've got to believe it. We already talked about believing. And then the hard part comes in. You got to work it. You got to work it. And once you start working it, you work it until you have success. Then you move to the next thing and add that. We've got to track it while we're working it so we know the progression we're having. If we're not tracking it, we don't know where we're at. We don't know when to change. Because if we're tracking it and we're having success, we're going to need to replan it while we're working it, because things are going to change. Things are going to improve. And as things improve, things change. So replanning while you're working it is very, very important. And then repeat it over and over and over and over and over and over again. Never stop repeating it. It's very important. Repetition is everything. We're not trying to create new things. We're trying to repeat what is success, what works for us. And these things are going to be different for everybody. But once we discover and figure out what works for us, we just keep it working it over and over and over. And we don't stop till we get to where we're satisfied and we're at our end goal. then you might say, okay, I'm good. I don't need to do it anymore. Keep your eye on the prize. This is something that's really important. We got to focus on how things will be, not how things are. Doesn't matter where I'm at today. Where am I going? That's what I focus on, is where am I going? What is my end goal? Where am I going to get there? How am I going to get there? And I won't say, yeah, when I'm going to get there. Not if I'm going to get there, it's when I'm going to get there. We need to talk about our goals as if they were a foregone conclusion. It's not if this is going to happen, it's when this happens. Always think of it that way. Start thinking of how you're saying things. Change the way you say things. It's not when, it's if. Keep that in mind. Speak about your goals publicly. This is something that was really hard for us in the beginning. And when I say this, I don't mean go out and brag to a bunch of people, because it's not about that at all. That's a big turnoff for everybody. But when you speak publicly about your goals and you're speaking about them in a foregone conclusion, you start to change the way people think about you. You start to sound differently. We're doing this. This is our plan. We're working this. We're doing this. We're having success here. And we're going to get to this stage down here in whatever time frame. However you want to do it. I'm just throwing that out there kind of loosely. But speaking about it, it really helps you focus. And when you speak about it in the proper manner, you want to show the people you're speaking to that you are achieving it. That builds your credibility right to the top. That will bring you opportunities that you can't even dream of, because people will recognize you and won't forget you. One of the things that we were taught in the very beginning is we built a goal board. And Susan hated my goal board. She was not happy with my goal board for a long time. But we put a goal board up of what we wanted to accomplish, how we were going to accomplish it. And our first goal board was a 5-year goal board. Now I do a goal board every year. I change it every year because we're at a very different place now. And I break it up into 4 quarters of the year of what we want to accomplish every quarter, every month. It works. It works well. It helps us keep a very good visual of where we're going, along with writing all this down. We also have our goal board, and we have all of our goals written out for the year. But on our goal board, I use pictures. I do have some things written down, but for the most part, I use pictures, because a picture's worth 1,000 words. And when we're looking at a picture is going to motivate us much more than words are going to motivate us. And you're selling yourself, because in this business, from a mindset standpoint, we've got to sell ourselves. Society, the media is always going to be negative. We've got to constantly be doing things to sell ourselves and be positive. So pictures work wonderful, and we love using pictures, and that's exactly what we do. So keep that in mind and go build the goal board. They're a lot of fun. You can have a lot of fun with that. Now's the time to take action. There's always going to be opportunities out there. It's up to you to go out and find the opportunities that work for you based on your situation, your personality, your job, your family, whatever the case may be. It's totally up to you. When you come across an opportunity, you need to do your homework. And if it's a good opportunity, then you need to take the action to make it happen. Period. No excuses. Go out and make this the best year you've ever had. I think we're going to have some fantastic opportunities in 2023. We're looking forward to it. We're already starting to see things happening now. And we're having very good success right now. And we see things just going crazy better next year. So get some things in line. Go out and put yourself in a position to go out and have great success. We're here to support you and help you in any way that we can. All you have to do is reach out to us. So I'm going to leave you with our motto. And this is a motto that we heard 12 years ago, probably 10, 12 years ago. And we stole this motto. We didn't make it up, but I've loved it ever since I saw it, and we hold ourselves to this. We do today what others won't, so we can have tomorrow what others don't. And I love it. I can't tell you how many times over the years I have read this, but I've read it a lot, and we try to follow this. I'll read it one more time. We do today what others won't, so we can have tomorrow what others don't. Think about that. That is powerful. That is so, so powerful to me. And I just love this motto, and we hold this true to our hearts. So that's, guys, that's what we've got for you today on this Lunch and Learn. Hopefully you have walked away with a lot of good ideas, hints, tips, strategies to put in place for yourselves to become successful investors, thinking about where we're going to begin with, and then setting up ourselves up to create that path to go down to get there. Before we get into any questions, as always, you can contact us, the Wealth Club, SVSM Capital. If you want to look at any of our videos, we've got tons of stuff on our YouTube channel, SVSM Wealth. And if you're out there wanting to get one of my private lender books, you can scan the QR code really quick, or you can contact us. You can go on our website and get it. We would love for you to have a copy of the book. It's a great book and very helpful. So with that, I'm on sharing my screen and turn my camera on. And Eric, haven't introduced everybody to Eric, but we've got Eric as our new marketing coordinator, and he's in the background here. And if we've got any questions, Eric, feel free to read a couple to me.
Sure thing. Hi, everyone. So it looks like we've got no questions in the chat right now, but
Okay.
Nathan Young and Donna are both very interested in discussing goal setting.
Okay. Well, then they can, and I know who both of them are. we can certainly set some time to do that. Reach out to me at your convenience, and we'll set up a time, and we'll go through some goal setting exercises. And I've actually just been working on a whole, well, it's a program we've done a long time. I've been modifying it a little bit. So would certainly love to help you with that. That's always one of the hardest things for most people. It certainly was a very difficult thing for me to do in the beginning, because I didn't understand or get goals. I was like everybody else in the world. It's like, yeah, I'll think of a couple goals, and yeah, then 2 or 3 weeks later you forget about it and nothing ever happens. But once I was taught this exercise that we do, we have done it year after year after year, and it's been just a fantastic way to help us keep focused on where we want to go, what we want to do. And like I said, over the years, as we've grown and as we've accomplished goals, we've modified it and we've changed it. And that's the great thing about it, is nothing's set in stone. We want to be able to change our goals as we accomplish goals. So yeah, reach out and we will definitely get something set up for that. Have we got anything else from anybody, Eric? Any comments or anything? Oh, your microphone's turned off there, Eric.
Oh, thank you so much.
Hey, I do it all the time, I know.
No more questions, but Donna says that the book is great. So we appreciate that feedback, Donna. Thank you so much.
Oh yeah, definitely. Thank you, Donna. Definitely appreciate that. Okay, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining today. We're going to do another Lunch and Learn on December 14th. That will be our last one for the year. So get tuned in for that. Off the top of my head, I can't remember at all what the title is of that one. So we'll be advertising it. I think I already did a video for it, but I can't remember which one that one is. So get tuned in, and thanks again for joining. And if you have questions at any time, you can always reach out to us. We're always here to answer questions, help you in any way that we can. And if we need to set up one-on-ones, then just let us know, and we're happy to do that. Until then, guys, and I know, in the beginning, I didn't wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving, and I hope everybody did have a very nice Thanksgiving. But we'll see you on the 14th. And until then, take care, everybody.